Okay guys, time for day number 3 of Kraków. It's currently the 1st of February when filming this. Obviously the day before we had kind of a relaxed day. Today was going to be a bit more hectic and we're going to do a lot. So starting off the day, we had once again plans to go out for breakfast. So we actually had breakfast in a little coffee shop quite close to our apartment called Blossom. Now, this was literally such a beautiful place. We had looked at coffee shops in the neighborhood, and this one is something that we really wanted to try. Mainly because of the way it looks inside. There is like this big mural on the wall and it looks absolutely stunning. We actually took some pictures as well, and we both had French toast. I did have a chai latte with that, and my cousin just had like a cappuccino, I think. It was really such a good breakfast. I was really happy with that. Now then we actually decided to go and hop on the public transport once again to go to Podhorzy. I had read online, I did a lot of research before we actually went to Poland, and I had read that when you're staying in Kraków, you actually need to go to the place called Podhorzy. So that's what we did. If I remember correctly, it's actually the place where the Jewish ghetto used to be, and it has like a lot of historical monuments that you really need to visit. So we decided to do that in like the morning time. Literally the first thing we saw when we got off our bus, like literally a 4-minute walk from where our bus stopped, was the St. Joseph Church. Now, this is not like any other church you will ever see. This is like literally a fairy tale come true. It's such a stunning church. We actually did go inside of a church. This is something that I didn't feel comfortable filming. I don't think that's allowed either. I just think that due to being respectful, like you don't film inside of a church. I think that's like a normal thing to do, that you don't film inside of a church. But honestly, such a stunning place. There was like this square in front of it, and it was just like an open square, not decorated with anything, and the only thing on that square that you could see was the church. And it was just, I honestly got a bit quiet when I saw that. I honestly felt like I was in a fairy tale. It was so stunning. There was a lot of things that we actually wanted to visit whilst being in Podhorzy, and we wanted to see, because obviously there are a lot of historical like monuments that you need to see, but we decided to just walk around a little bit and see what we would stumble upon, and then afterwards at lunch check if we had, you know, crossed everything off our list. We were walking, and this is when we came across, and I'm gonna have to read that because it's a really difficult name. Plac Bohaterów Getta. Polish people are gonna scream at me for pronouncing that wrong. Okay, so on this square there are a lot of empty chairs. If I understand correctly, there are about 70 empty chairs on this square, and I did some research which I thought was quite important to like know why there are all these empty chairs on like a square. And what I understand is that back in like wartime, when Jewish people were like sent to the concentration camps, this place is where the Jewish people were all sent to, and they had to wait on this square to be deported to one of the concentration camps. That is how I understood like the meaning of the empty chairs and empty chairs square. And the empty chairs actually stand for the fallen Jewish people. So I think that's quite pretty. I actually got a little bit like, you know, I felt it in my chest that we were actually on a place that like has a really heavy background, and it's just not just like a pretty place, but it's like the historical meaning behind the monuments is actually quite hard to like comprehend. And to like realize that people actually did that to a human being. It's just horrible, and being on the places where that all happened just makes it a little bit more real, I think, in my head. This is when we decided that we actually wanted to go to Schindler's factory, which we horribly failed at because apparently every first Tuesday of the month Schindler's factory is closed. So we stood in front of a closed door, which was horrible because we really wanted to do this, and we decided that we're going to plan it like at the end of the week because this is something that we both really wanted to do, and it was quite sad seeing that, you know, it was closed. So but seeing that we were now quite far from like the center, we decided that we were going to grab lunch first because it was already like 1 in the afternoon. So it was time to get some lunch, and we sat down in a little cafe called Knitted Coffee, which was a really cute place, and we both had like some toast, and I had some lemonade and my cousin had like a matcha coffee, I think. It was quite good actually, it was quite yummy. We then decided that obviously we needed to continue a walk, and then there is something like the ghetto wall that you really need to see as well. In war times, the Jewish district was surrounded by a big wall called the ghetto wall. Now in Poland, in Podgorze, they actually kept a very small piece of that wall on the streets, which is very like, when you are just walking down that street, you might not notice it, but when you know what it's about, it's actually quite emotional. And little spoiler alert, we actually did go to Schindler's factory, and there you can see like the whole ghetto wall. And I know that when I was on Tuesday standing in front of that small fragment of the ghetto wall, I didn't really feel like, wow, that's a lot. But when I then was in the Schindler's factory and saw the whole entire wall, I was actually a bit stunned by how big that wall was. And it all came to me and kind of all hit me that there was this wall surrounding the Jewish quarters, which is like crazy to even think about. Like, obviously this is a very important piece of history that you need to go and see. There is this little like piece written on the wall as well. I've tried looking up the translation. I hope it's correct because it was written on the wall in Hebrew and in Polish, and obviously I don't read those, I don't like understand those languages, but I think it says, "Here lived, suffered and died by the hands of Germans. Here they started their last travel to the concentration camps." I think that's what it says, or at least that's what my translation thingy says, that it's written on the wall, so I hope it's correct. But yeah, it was quite emotionally, I was shocked by it, honestly, I was so shocked. We then wanted to walk to a place called Fort Benedict. Now, we read online that we really needed to visit it. It was quite far up a hill, which led to a beautiful, beautiful view over the city. So that was quite nice. The only problem being that when we entered, like arrived at the fort, it was closed down. You can't enter it. There's like a big gate in front of it, and you can't actually go inside of the fort. You can't even walk around it. Like, it's literally like shut down, closed. That was quite a bummer. We did a little photo shoot instead on like, because it was stunning surrounding, like stunning area, but you couldn't go inside the fort, which was quite like, that was the reason why we were there. So it was quite sad that we couldn't enter the fort. That was quite sad. We then decided that it was time to move on to another city called Kazimierz. Now, to walk from Podgorze to Kazimierz, you actually have to go across the river. This is the Vistela River, and it's a gorgeous river. You have to cross it. So we crossed it on a bridge that is quite famous actually. It's the Father Bernadette's Bridge. Now, this bridge is used for two different things. A lot of people actually, like in Paris, there was this bridge that people used to like hang their lock on and then write their names on it for like their for everlasting love. Well, people do this as well on this bridge. So there were like a lot of logs with like names written on it. And another thing that was quite special on this bridge is that it's actually used as an art exposition. So right now there were pieces of acrobats just like hanging on the bridge, which was so crazy because these are like big statues, but they were like placed there in a way that they could move when wind was blowing. So they were actually moving but not falling off, which was so impressive. It was definitely recommend going there as well because it's so worth it. It is so worth it. It's like a very romantic place, but also if you're into art, it's also like a very artistic place to be. So yeah, and obviously you have like this amazing view over the river, which is nice to see as well. Okay, so now we went to Kazimierz. This is something that you actually really have to do because this is the old Jewish quarters. This is where the Jewish people used to live back in the days. So this is definitely like historically as well the place to be when you visit Poland. You have to go to Kazimierz. It's a must do just because of the history that went on there. You just have to go and visit it. Or at least I think so. The first thing we came across is a big church. Once again, I'm gonna have to look at the name. Bazylika Bożego Ciała, I think. Stunning. Just, I can't say anything else, and it's super stunning. The churches in Poland are just on another level of gorgeous. This place was like amazing. Not even the church itself. This church was in like an area that was surrounded by like a wall. So it was like one big area that was only for the church, and that area itself was so beautiful. I just love like how in Poland like they make their churches, because this one was absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. By this time it's getting quite late and we're just having like a little stroll around in obviously like the Jewish quarters, where you can see a lot of stuff, you know, going on. There is a lot of synagogues out there, which obviously is typical in like a Jewish, you know, neighborhood, because this is like Catholics have a church and the Jewish people have a synagogue, because this is where they do like their religious meetings, is in this place. So there's a lot of them in Kazimierz. We visited the oldest one. I once again did not take any pictures inside of it. I think that if you want to see the inside of it, you just have to go yourself. I don't think it's like respectful to take pictures inside of something like that. Definitely not when it's like with a religious background. Like, you just don't do that, but it's definitely worth it. It was quite different than what I was expecting it to be on the inside, but it was quite pretty. Now we both are quite tired at this moment. I obviously have to be really careful when I travel, but I don't overdo myself with my migraine and with my bag. So we sat down in a little cafe called Urban Coffee. It's not a cafe, it's more like a coffee house, obviously, because it's called Urban Coffee. And I had like a delicious iced latte and this like lemon pie with meringue on top. Chef's kiss. It was so good. This actually filled our stomachs a little bit to like have the energy to go home. So we walked home, which was probably like a mistake of ours, because by the time we actually got home we were so tired that we actually didn't feel like going out again for dinner. We had plans to have like this traditional Jewish dinner. I think pierogi, obviously quite famous, is like a traditional Polish dish, and this is something that we really wanted to have. We were just so tired, so we actually went to a store where we got pierogi, which was already made, obviously not the same as when you get it in a restaurant, but we actually got it and made it ourselves, and I don't know, it was weird, but it was quite nice. I don't know, I thought it was going to be like ravioli, but it's not. I don't really know what to say about it. It was good, it was yummy, I enjoyed it. Then obviously we sat down. I think we like talked a bit about the day and about life, and then we were headed for bed, but like all curtains were closed, and my cousin all of a sudden yelled and said, "You have to come and look." And that is when we saw that it was actually snowing in Poland. This is the whole reason why we came to Poland in the winter time. We wanted to see a white carpet on the floors, and we got it. We did a little happy dance and we got to bed. And that is all I have to tell you guys. That is all I have to say about day number 3. I will see you in the next video or for day number 4. Bye bye.